A very warm welcome to our YouTube session. I really hope that you guys are doing well. This is me, Nikki Sinha, and I'm back with the part 2 video of Advent of Europeans. Okay, so in the last video we discussed about Portuguese and we discussed about the Dutch, and now we will move ahead and we will discuss about the most important company which screwed, I would say, which had an impact on our history, and that is the British East India Company. So first of all, we will know about the origins of the company. So 1600, we have Queen Elizabeth I. She granted a charter to the Governor and Company of Merchants of London Trading into East Indies, conferring on them the trading rights and monopoly to carry out trade in the East for 15 years. And this was a monopoly which she had given them, that only they would have the rights to carry on trade, no other company. Initially, the company functioned as a closed corporation, but we have a number of individual merchants who basically wanted to participate in the trade, and they did, right? These free merchants campaigned against the exclusive rights of the company. So these free merchants, or these individual merchants, who might not have been part of the company, or who might not have been part of the company which was given the charter, they said that why should only this company have the exclusive rights, okay? However, the English monarch did not really act on it because they were heavily bribed from this company, and that is the reason that they have been given the charter. Okay, 1964, we have the newly empowered House of Commons mandated that all English people have equal rights to trade in the Indies or in the East. And as a result, these free merchants organized themselves into the new company, all right? And this new company did not, okay, so ab ye new company mein kya hua? So basically they have organized themselves, these free merchants, all right? These free merchants who were protesting against the monopoly of the old company, they have organized themselves into the new company, all right? But the old company did not let the new company carry out trade very peacefully, and eventually the conflict escalated and brought about the degeneration of both, okay? So the free merchants, right, who formed the new company, and the old company, which was given a charter by Queen Elizabeth, they could not get along really well, and they kept fighting amongst each other. They were fighting amongst each other, they were fighting with themselves, which led to the degeneration of both the companies, which is new and the old. Okay. However, in 1702, both the companies joined hands, all right? They decided that there's no use fighting. Let's join hands and let's earn profit together. So they formed the Limited Company of Merchants of England Trading to the East Indies, which officially came into existence in 1708. And this is the birth of the English East India Company. All right, let us see wow and how they came into India. What did they do in India? What farmans were given to them? How factories were established, etc. Now, so they have gained the royal charter from Elizabeth, right, which gave them exclusive rights, monopoly to trade in the eastern countries. Okay, so British Emperor James I, he had sent Captain William Hawkins to the court of Jahangir, and he was asking permission to establish a trading post in India. All right, and he was the first British to enter into India via sea route. The emperor was reluctant at first because obviously the local traders in Surat and Portuguese were definitely against it. But then the Portuguese were eventually defeated. Okay? The Portuguese were defeated and the naval contingent by English Captain Middleton in 1611. So who defeated the Portuguese? The Portuguese were defeated by the English Captain Middleton in 1611. And as a result, the Mughal emperor, by an imperial farman, gave permission to the English East India Company to establish their first factory where? They established their first factory in Surat in 1613. So this is how it started. First of all, we have Captain William Hawkins. He was asking to establish a trading post, but the emperor was reluctant because of the Portuguese and the local merchants there. But the Portuguese were defeated by the English, and as a result, the Farman was given. Now, still the Britishers were really unsatisfied, so they sent one more person, that is Sir Thomas Roe. He's the one who actually asked for a chair in Jahangir's court and shocked everyone, because that is not how you function in the Mughal court. So he pleaded for more concession, and this time Jahangir allowed them to establish factories in any parts of the Mughal Empire. So those areas which are under the Mughal rule, he could establish his factories there. Consequently, they established their factories where? In Agra, Ahmedabad, and in Bharuch. So initially, a monopoly of 15 years was granted, which in May 1609 was extended indefinitely. That was issued and through a charter which was issued by James I. So James I, who was the King of England, he issued a charter and he extended the monopoly of the English East India Company by indefinitely. So there was no fixed date. Now, so the English turned to India in search of textile and other commodities of trade. So basically they were just looking for anything they could trade in, anything that could be converted into a resource or a revenue base. They would sell just anything and everything. Let us talk about the Danes in India. So the Danish or the Danes refer to people who are from Denmark. Okay. So they held colonial positions in India for 225 years. Established in 1616, the Danish East India Company was first sent to India under whom? Under Admiral O. Day. Okay? Who is the person here? Admiral O. G is silent here and it is Jade. Okay? So under Admiral O. Jade, he was the one who was sent, he was the first person who came to India and wanted to establish the Danish East India Company. Right? So he signed a deal with the Thanjavur ruler Raghunath Nayak in 1620, despite of all the resistance from the Portuguese. So Portuguese were definitely not ready for it, but they were not really able to defend themselves, and as a result, the treaty was signed with whom? With Raghunath Nayak. The treaty signed during November 1620 allowed the Danes to collect taxes from the neighboring villages of Tranquebar, yes. The treaty enabled Danes to construct forts on the shores of Bay of Bengal and Tranquebar. Okay. So these were the positions, so you can see these were the powers which were given to the Danish on the basis of the treaty. Okay. And when was this treaty signed? This treaty was signed in November 1620. What all did it allow them? What all did it allow the Danish company? It allowed them to collect taxes. Okay. It also allowed them to construct forts. Fine. So taxes and forts, and obviously they could carry out all the trading activities. Now, Dutch adventurer Marcellus de Beaucheur provided the impetus for the Danish involvement in the Indian subcontinent. He wanted military assistance against the Portuguese with the promise of monopoly on all trade to the assisting party. Okay. So basically, what has happened here? So we have a treaty which has been signed. Okay. Now treaty has been signed. So Dutch adventurer. Okay. So now we're talking about whom? Now we're talking about the Dutch adventurer. So Dutch also want to come into India, isn't it? Dutch जो है वो भी हिंदुस्तान आना चाहते हैं. They also want to come into India. So Dutch adventurer Marcel de Beaucheur, he provided an impetus for Danish involvement in the Indian subcontinent. So he said that he wanted military assistance against the Portuguese All right. So he wants to fight the Portuguese and he wants military assistance against the Portuguese with the promise of monopoly on all trade to the assisting party. So he said, so the Dutch people said that if anyone who helps me against the Portuguese, they will be getting a monopoly on all the trading activities which the Portuguese were doing. So his appeal convinced Christian IV, the king of Denmark, who subsequently issued a charter in 1616 granting Danish East India Company a monopoly of trade between Denmark and Asia for 12 years. Okay, so this person, Marcellus de Beaufort, he was the one who instigated, you can say, or he was the one who encouraged the Danish population and the Danish king, Christian IV. And as a result, he gave them a charter in 1616, granting them a monopoly for 12 years. Okay. The Danish colonies included towns of Tranquebar, which is in Tamil Nadu, Srirampur and Nicobar Islands. Please remember this. Now, Srirampur was also the headquarters. Srirampur Mission Press, established at Srirampur by Danish missionaries in 1799, but they ultimately failed to strengthen themselves in India and they sold all of their settlements to the Britishers in 1845 and eventually left India. Okay. Lastly, we have the French. The French were actually the last ones of the European companies to enter into India. So 1664, during the reign of Louis XIV, the efforts of his minister Colbert resulted in the formation of Campagno des Indes Orientales, right? This is the very French pronunciation, guys. I'm not very sure how French pronunciations are done, but this was what the French East India Company was. So it was under whose reign? Under Louis XIV, okay? And who is the minister here? Colbert is the minister here. And this resulted in the formation of the French East India Company. So it was established by the government, it was established by the king, and hence it was managed by the government itself. It was controlled by the government itself. The first factory they established was in Surat in 1667, and this was by Francis Caron, which was followed by a factory in Masulipatam in 1669 after acquiring permission from the rulers of Golconda. Now, the foundations of Pondicherry. So this was a town actually which was founded by the French itself. So this was led by Francois Martin in 1673. The trading post at Chandranagore was established at the place given by the Nawab of Bengal, Shaista Khan, and other factories were located at Mahe, Karaikal and Kasim Bazar. Please remember this. So these are the factories which they have established, Surat, and then in Masulipatam, and eventually they established themselves at Pondicherry, which was their main center, and then they have other factories which is Chandranagore, all right. Then they established factories at Mahe, Karaikal and Kasim Bazar. So this was all about the English East India Company, the Danish East India Company and the French East India Company. So I really hope that you have gotten all the information here. So please, what all do you think you have to remember? You should remember the date of establishment. When were they found? Okay. Under which ruler? Okay. You have to remember their factories in India. What else do you think you should remember? You should remember the ruler in India under whom these things have been given, under whom the farmans have been given. You must remember the farmans, all right? And lastly, you must remember the factories, okay, the year and the location as well. So these are the few things which I would love you all to cover when you're doing the advent of Europeans. So these are very factual information, but still you should know. And I have tried to cover each of these things in the video that I have just, whatever I have taught you just now, I've tried to cover each of this. I've tried to cover all of it. I've tried to cover the date of establishment, under which European ruler, and what factories were established in India, where, the year, etc., everything, which ruler was there in India, what farmans have they gotten, and where have the factories been established. Okay. You can also add one more thing. You can also add the centers. You must know the centers of all of these European companies. So this is the information. This is the basic information that you must remember when you're doing advent of Europeans. Okay. So I really hope that you have understood this video. I really hope that there's no issue here. If you still have any confusion, any doubts, anything that you have not understood, please feel free to address them in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with it. Till then, please take care. This is me, Nikki Sinha, signing off. Bye-bye.